I'm Francesca Reid.
And I'm Victoria Hogg.
And we are the Offer Bank.
So the Offer Bank is about corporate solutions using improvisation to tap into your teams and your individuals' creativity, confidence and collaboration skills in order to enhance those and to get you working in a more creative mindset generally.
What we believe is important isn't just being able to talk about it theoretically. We think that it's important to have those things existing within your creative mindset in the muscle memory and to actually put them into action so they become second nature rather than buzzwords or rehearsed theories.
Absolutely. That's why we're so excited to be doing Huddle, because we're actually running a workshop rather than giving a presentation. So 20 lucky participants will be able to come and really embody some of the training principles that we put into place.
What we want to offer is a little taster of our ethos and our energy and just how we can come in and help teams bond or to create better communications or even to create a culture in your workplace from the ground up.
So that means that if that is within your wheelhouse, it's definitely worth coming along to our session. But otherwise, you can come along and see what it feels like playing in the space. What feels like nothing more than fun and fun exercises is actually really closely tied to various different principles that are embodied in improvisation and in the workplace.
Now, Vic, what does divergent thinking mean to you?
Well, divergent thinking for me is really exciting because it's that moment before you make the ultimate decisions which take you on whichever particular path you go on. It's to do with the creative moment whereby you're absolutely present. I think that the term mindfulness can be overused these days, but it's very much about listening, active listening, and creating building blocks of agreement and acceptance with your improvisation partners.
Edward de Bono's 6-act thinking means that we all have different roles we can take, so we have a choice whether we shut down ideas or whether we allow creativity to blossom to then later try and hone things down to a more essential course of action.
Absolutely.
There are companies that actively encourage failure in order to allow people to succeed, like you are rewarded indeed for failing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And improv, one of the major principles is permission to fail. Make a choice, take a risk, make a big impression, and if it doesn't work, it's not a problem. And I think what's really interesting as well is another core tenet of improv, which is yes and I don't know if everybody has heard of this particular expression, yes and, but that is really about acceptance. It's about hearing what your scene partner or your business partner has said to you in that moment, and rather than shutting it down or trying to think of a clever answer or even just thinking of all the problems, as you said, with black hat thinking, it's really about accepting it and seeing what new brick you can put on top of that particular brick in order to make some exciting new edifice.
That doesn't mean that you have to say yes to things that morally are reprehensible to you. It's not a cure-all and it's not a reason for people to be able to walk over you. You still have to have healthy boundaries that you enforce on a personal level, and lovingly so, as Brené Brown writes about in much of her discourse. But it does mean that instead of shutting things down, as some people are possibly inclined to do because we have such an onus on everything being right or correct, or there being judgment, or there being a right way to do things, it allows you to spitball and to go to places you never imagined possible, but it allows that creativity to flow. I've also seen with my work and with our work as the Offer Bank in academic environs that some of the most highly intelligent individuals are very skilled in their area of expertise. However, they're not always able to work in a team environment because obviously they are specialists and they don't always have to work in larger groups, and they are inclined to try and find holes in things and to shut it down versus finding reasons why a thing might work.
Absolutely. It's the terror of looking silly as well, isn't it? And there's so much pressure in today's business world, in today's corporate environment, to get it right and to feel like you're contributing in exactly the correct way, that it's really hard to then open up one's more divergent thinking and imaginative roles and thought processes in order to really sort of think outside the box and find out whether or not you're going down the correct path.
In 2020, if you look at the World Economic Forum's predictions from even as far back as 2016, it's very obvious that the skill sets we're going to need for tomorrow's workforce are maybe not what we're teaching children in schools. There are going to be needs for empathy, for communication, for creative thinking. And these are things that I think people are very aware of, and we're definitely moving towards now. But if we can really lock into that and harness it and cultivate it and work it, because it is a muscle, we can be strong and ready for the challenges that tomorrow is going to bring.
A lot of today's schooling is to do with cognitive fixedness and about fact finding. And that seems to be less and less of importance in future workforces, whereby computers and technology will do all of that for you. And the absolute USP of any company will be its face-to-face workforce and the flexibility therein.
So what can people expect to experience in our session?
So what we can expect is to get everybody on the same page in terms of feeling relaxed, and luckily enough, we are both expert in safe space. It's something that we pride ourselves in. Once we've warmed everybody up, we would then move into exercises which would then allow us to start playing and thinking in a much more divergent fashion.
And ultimately, as much as we're offering skills and giving you a taster of what wider work with us might entail, we want you guys to have fun. You know, this is a day away from the office to think of new, fresh perspectives in order for you to take back to your team and enthuse them about the possibilities. So we want to, much like an athlete, train you how to do the hop, skip and a jump so you are ready for the Olympics of thinking.
Absolutely. And really it is about fun. I don't want to downplay that. I know that it might seem that it's trivial or that we have a flippant attitude to whatever your particular workspace might be working on, but it's really important.
Also, as a child, we learn through play, and we learn vast amounts of information over a short space of time. We stop doing that at some point in our lives. And I think the slowing of information is no coincidence. I think the way that we are able to take in more information and a more intrinsic level is if we're able to engage and play and let it into our bodies.
So I suppose what's really exciting is seeing people working as a team. Total strangers will suddenly be creating comic roles that are completely unexpected in terms of how well they know each other.
Do you think as well that that has anything to do with vulnerability?
Yes, I think definitely. I think what's really interesting is that you can build up confidence in someone and suddenly they behave like a completely different person in a 3-hour space of time. People come into our sessions nervous, quiet, they're anticipating failure and are nervous about that. And they have a kind of fight or flight mechanism that's underlying their every offer. Within even an hour, people are behaving differently and they really do grow in confidence. It's just thrilling to watch.
I feel as well like vulnerability has like quite negative connotations, but I think none of the good things in your life happened without you having a degree of vulnerability and openness to the situation. Whether that's a new friendship, falling in love, or taking on a huge new challenge that you weren't necessarily ready for. We're never ready. You just sometimes have to feel the fear and leap anyway. And I think that that is one of the most beautiful things that improv allows you to do, is that yes and attitude. Like, I've never done it before. It's totally outside of my remit, but why shouldn't I be able to do it? Because I do have that ability deep down inside, and I'm going to just take a chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the worst that can happen is you look a bit silly, but actually if it makes a room full of people laugh in delight, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And I think so many industries and so many work roles are creative without people realising. Mathematicians are creative, scientists are creative. Things that seem that they're STEM subjects and are very analytical are incredibly creative, because without that, how would we have discovered the light bulb? How would we have discovered gravity? You know, there are so many things that you need a non-fixed approach to. And then when you want to prove it, of course, you've got to do it again and again and again. But that initial discovery, that belief, that imagination.
Creating this yes and environment and ethos is wonderful because it stops people from what we call blocking. Because it absolutely walks away from that and allows you just to play in a big field of imagination, it really does encourage collaboration in a very organic and enriching way.
Do you think, Vic, that it enables people to be more resilient? And what does resilience mean to you?
Resilience means to me that you are able to make a mistake or even to fail and for it not to affect you too negatively. It allows you to make mistakes without feeling like there's any collateral damage to either your ego or your external career or environment.
And I think that's so important, because if you're terribly afraid to fail and the consequences are always the loss of a job or out and out ridicule, then you never truly take the risks to do anything revolutionary or innovative.
And resilience is really, I think it's just the ability to cope. So Fran, tell us just a little bit about you and your improv background.
So I have started off as an actor. I went to East 15 acting school. But even before that, I have been creating and creative all of my life. I started dancing, and I moved into working with young offenders or special educational needs environs, and also working in corporate spaces, using the arts and various different techniques, helping people to realise their true potentials and stop them from just living life scripts that they were offered. So I've worked in universities, ad agencies, I've worked in academia, I've worked across the range using improv as a technique. And honestly, I can say it is one of the most inspiring environments to be in, using those techniques. And Vic, where do you come from? What's the underpinning of your work, and what's your speciality?
Well, I moved into improv and performance work when I did an MA in applied theatre at Goldsmiths a few years ago. And so I also have been working with different groups in socially engaged environments and others. So, for instance, I have worked with adults with learning disabilities. I'm currently doing some really interesting improv comedy work with adults who are visually impaired. And I find that improvisation techniques are, as you say, the bedrock of all human communication and interaction. And they really do just allow people to be themselves and to work to their best capacity.
So thanks so much for listening to us, guys. And we cannot wait to meet you at the Huddle.
Yes, please do sign up. We're really looking forward to it. See you soon.